It's hard to believe it's already been 4 years since the release of the PlayStation 4. Well, at least we think it is. Some gamers want a next-gen console immediately, and the PS4 Pro is not going to cut it. They think it's about time Sony released a brand new console. That's why PS5 rumors have been swirling around the internet for the last year or so, even though Sony hasn't said a word. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our content, and ring that bell to become part of our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here are 10 PS5 rumors that'll blow you away. Release date in 2018. This may come as a shock, but many analysts believe the PS5 will be released in 2018. Of course, it's possible for the console to be released a year from now, but Sony has shown no indication of this. Usually, they would at least confirm that they're working on the next console, but Sony has remained completely quiet. There hasn't even been a peep about the PS5. In the video game industry, it's all about punch and counterpunch. When Sony came out with the PS4 Pro, Microsoft responded with the Xbox One X, so now all eyes are on Sony to see how they respond to Microsoft. Supposedly, once the Xbox One X is released, Sony will push hard on the PS5. While we mentioned many analysts believe that this can happen in 2018, there are others who are much more skeptical. Think about it. 4K gaming is just starting to become mainstream, so it doesn't make too much sense for Sony to already move on from the PS4 Pro after only 2 years. Maybe 2019 is more predictable, but only time will tell. It would be amazing to see a new console in 2018 though, so hopefully Sony delivers. Backwards compatibility with PS4. Who doesn't love backwards compatibility? There are just so many benefits to having a console with backwards capability, we don't even know where to start. Well, first of all, it allows you to sell your old console, which can give you a couple $100 if you're lucky. You also get to play all of your favorite games from the previous console on the current one. What's better than that? Well, after the Xbox One X was announced with some amazing backwards compatibility features, it's time to see what Sony has up their sleeve. Since the Xbox One X is backwards compatible with not only the Xbox One, but the Xbox 360 and original Xbox as well, the PS5 is rumored to at least be backwards compatible with the PS4. In a perfect world, the PS5 would be compatible with each of the previous PlayStation consoles. That would be one hell of a counterpunch to the Xbox One X, and many fans would be absolutely ecstatic. All of your favorite games in PlayStation history being playable on one console sounds almost too good to be true. They say if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So we won't get our hopes up, but it wouldn't be too surprising to see the PS5 being able to play PS4 games. That wouldn't be too crazy, right? Updated virtual reality. We're very surprised to see how well virtual reality is doing. Honestly, when they started coming out with VR games, it seemed really gimmicky. Just like 3D, you have to wear something ridiculous over your eyes to see things you couldn't see before. We felt like it was an added feature that was pretty pointless. How wrong were we? Virtual reality has been thriving, and the PlayStation VR is one of the main reasons for that. The headset is beautifully designed, and there are so many amazing games to choose from, whether it's super hot or rigs. It only makes sense for Sony to upgrade their virtual reality system and possibly release it alongside the PS5. Sony will probably make a higher tech version of their current VR system and market it as a huge selling point for the PS5. If the PlayStation VR headset is sold without an external black box, it could be much cheaper, which would give Sony a big advantage over their competitors at Oculus and HTC. It's definitely a good business move and wouldn't be too surprising. Maybe the reason Sony has been so quiet is because they're working on something of this magnitude. It would be an amazing addition to the rumored PS5. More powerful than the Xbox One X. The Xbox One X was touted by Microsoft as being the most powerful console of all time, and if we're being honest, they're completely right. The specs of the Xbox One X blow every other console out of the water with all the teraflops you can imagine. It was just a little annoying to hear Microsoft go on and on about how powerful it is, yet all it does is play Xbox One games. Since Microsoft is currently winning the T-flops battle by a score of 6 to 4.2, it's time for Sony to answer back with an incredibly powerful console of their own. The PS5 is rumored to be more powerful than the Xbox One X. Expect better processing power, graphics, and yes, you bet there's going to be more teraflops. This rumor may not be too far-fetched, but you never know with these big-name companies. Many times what we expect and what we get are two very different things. We're looking at you, No Man's Sky. Anyway, expect the PS5 to be an extremely powerful console capable of doing things you've never even dreamed of. Sound familiar? Great third-party support. One of the main selling points of the PS4 is its third-party support. Sony has made sure all indie developers consider the PS4 as a possible platform for the release of their game. It's this type of proactive thinking that's allowed Sony to amass an incredible library of indie games. From Rogue Legacy to Towerfall to Fez, there are so many incredible games to choose from, and you can't go wrong with any of them. We expect Sony to keep a good thing going with their third-party games, just like with the PlayStation VR. More and more indie games should be available for the next console. We don't understand why they would stop. Gamers love that the PlayStation Store is full of great games which aren't $60 AAA titles. It allows gamers who are strapped for cash to be able to purchase and play quality games. You also get to support indie developers, which is always great. It's pretty much the gaming equivalent of buying food locally. While the Xbox One also has some good indie titles, the console can't even compare to the PS4. Sony will most likely build on the strengths of the PS4 when designing the software for the PS5. Improved 4K capabilities. With the release of the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, the launch cycles of consoles are as confusing as they've ever been. This half step, where it's an improved console but not a completely new one, is taking the entire electronics division by storm. We saw it first with Apple and their S variant iPhones, and we see it with Sony and Microsoft. The latest excuse for a half step is 4K. Now 4K is taking the world by storm, so it's a very smart business decision to simply improve their consoles by making them 4K compatible. That being said, the PS4 Pro doesn't have true 4K capabilities. The console takes every single pixel in 1080p and splits it up into 4 separate pixels to give the impression of 4K. Don't get us wrong, the PS4 Pro compatible games look absolutely stunning on a 4K TV screen, but it's not true 4K. It's rumored that the PS5 will have a native 4K resolution, which would be incredible. Now, the Xbox One X has native 4K capabilities, but it's proved difficult for some games. If the PS5 is able to run all games in native 4K resolution with no hiccups, it would be a major achievement and the first console to do so. No more physical discs. Yep, now we're starting to get a little crazy. If you think about it, we've seen staples of technology slowly fade into the abyss over the past few years. Think about the headphone jack in smartphones. Some of us use it every day on our daily commutes, so why would we ever think of removing it from the device? Well, the geniuses, or dunces, at Apple decided to remove it, of course, but the same type of change could happen to your home video game consoles. The headphone jack equivalent to consoles would probably be the disk drive. Every system has a disk drive or cartridge slot. It's the only way you can even play games on the system. Well, since the 7th generation of consoles arrived, the game has changed. No longer do we need a disk drive to play games. We can just download it straight to our consoles and play without moving from our seats. It's the future, and maybe the PS5 will be the first to make the change. Imagine a console with no disk drive. This change would not be the worst case scenario for gamers, unless you have awful internet service, but it would be terrible for your local video game stores. They won't even have games to sell. The jury is still out to whether this change would benefit Sony in the long run. Having physical games never hurt anybody. Upgradable hardware. Many people thought that the Xbox One X would be the first console to feature upgradable hardware. In fact, Microsoft even teased us by saying upgradable consoles are the future. This led plenty of gamers to believe that the Xbox One X would be upgradable, but Microsoft quickly said this is not the plan with the current console. If Sony wants, they can give the people what they like. It wouldn't be surprising to see Sony try to one-up Microsoft again and make the PS5 feature upgradable hardware. It's the perfect time to strike. Xbox fans are disappointed the One X isn't upgradable, so make your console upgradable and let the distraught fans switch sides. It's genius, but it's easier said than done. While it doesn't sound complicated, it's difficult to allow a console to have upgradable hardware. A console is smaller than a PC, so the components are much more clustered. It's so much easier to mess things up. Also, isn't the whole point of a console to plug it in and play without having to worry about upgrades? While it would be great to see the PS5 have upgradable hardware, it's not really necessary. The Last of Us 2 will be a launch title. With every console launch is an amazing launch title to get gamers looking forward to launch day. The PS4 was released with many different bundles to choose from, so it wouldn't be surprising to see the same thing happen with the PS5. Seeing as the console is rumored to be released as early as 2018, could the launch title be The Last of Us 2? This is all speculation at this point, but releasing a new console alongside one of the most anticipated games of the year is certainly a recipe for success. As we've already mentioned, Sony hasn't said a peep as to whether they're they're working on a new console, so it would be hilarious for them to announce the release date of The Last of Us 2 and sneak in the fact that they're releasing a console on the same day. Another scenario is that the PS5 is released in 2019 with multiple different bundles, including one with a remastered version of The Last of Us 2 as a launch title. It would be somewhat disappointing, but you can't have your cake and eat it, right? You would still be getting a new console, so whenever it comes out, just be grateful. It doesn't come out at all. Yeah, that's right. What if the console doesn't come out at all? Developers aren't usually this quiet if a console's supposed to be released a year from now. They're usually telling you all about their console leading up to a full reveal at E3 in June to get you pumped up. Instead, Sony is just doing their thing. Now, these are all signs that point to the PS5 not being released in the near future. They don't indicate it will never be released, but it's something to consider. Some analysts believe that 2018 or 2019 is too soon for the PS5 to be released, with 2021 or 2022 as more realistic options. That would make the 8th generation of consoles last for nearly a decade. No matter what, Sony will not stop making video game consoles, but they may just keep making improvements to the PS4. We already have the PS4 Pro, so maybe they're working on a PS4 Ultra or something along those lines as a response to the Xbox One X. Whatever the case may be, it seems like the 8th generation of consoles is here to stay whether you like it or not. If these rumors are true, we're in for one heck of a treat with the PS5. Do you agree with this list? Are there any rumors we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all of our videos. Thanks for watching.